Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome back to Halenwood. My name is Halen, and if you are new here, you guys are the Desisauruses, and I always say that if you're new to the family, hit the subscribe button, the like button, or the notification bell, whatever makes you happy. As you guys can tell by the title of this video, it is a story time, and welcome to my new series. I'm going to be calling it Paranormal Story Time. This is where I'm going to be interviewing people who have had paranormal experiences, or I will be giving my own story times on my own paranormal experiences. So I was originally going to collab with the Spirit Chick and interview her, but I was doing some thinking over the week, and I think I'm going to tell my story of my first paranormal experience first, because I think that's what really defined to me that spirits really do exist and that ghosts exist. And I want you guys to know that I'm not doing this because I've heard things from other people. I have seen them, I have felt them, I have touched them, I have caught evidence, so I will be sharing evidence on my channel as well. And I have to be honest with you guys, some of it is absolutely chilling, and this is going to be a more serious aspect to my channel. So if you guys like videos like this, then I suggest sitting back, eat some popcorn, light a candle, and enjoy the video. When I was a kid, I think my very first paranormal experience happened when I was either 5 or 6. I think it was after the time my dad had passed away. And I also know that the spirit was not my dad, because I remember this entity being a little dark and a little malicious. I did feel protected in a sense, but I do feel like I need to share my experience with you guys. So I'm just gonna dive back into the origins of where this entity even came from, because it took me a while to figure it out, and this even goes back to when I was in my mom's stomach and I wasn't even born yet. So as you guys know, I live in the Wild West. I live in Nevada, where gunslingers kick it up. I live by Virginia City. I'm a tour guide, and then in the summertime I do gunfights. But another cool thing about Virginia City is that it's very haunted, and it's one of the most haunted places in the Wild West, you guys. And if you haven't been to Virginia City, Nevada yet, I highly suggest that you check it out, because it is really cool. I have definitely been lucky enough to grow up in such an interesting place. I feel like a lot of people my age don't really get the opportunity to be close to something so not ordinary, if that makes sense. So I think it's pretty cool. But anyways, there's this building in town called the Old Union Brewery, and basically it's just the creepiest building. And around the time when my mom was pregnant, her and my dad were together and they went to this building. I'm just going to show a picture of this building so you guys can get a good depiction of what this thing looks like, because it's terrifying. Every time I stare in the windows of this building, I feel like something's looking back at me through the glass, and I will never ever step foot back in the Union Brewery again. I'll walk outside of it and I'll look at it, but I won't go inside. It's the only building I will not set foot into in Virginia City. But anyways, when my mom was pregnant with me and her and my dad went on a tour of the Union Brewery, they went downstairs in the basement. I think some woman was showing them around, from what my mom told me, and paranormal activity has an effect on kids, babies, pregnant women, and animals, of course, because they can see them. And apparently when I was in my mom's stomach, I was kicking around really rapidly. I was not a happy baby inside that building. Clearly I wanted to get out. I was kicking so bad in my mom's stomach, it was hurting her, and she didn't understand why I was going so crazy in her stomach, and she literally described it as it hurting her. And she was with my dad, and my dad seemed a little concerned and kind of weirded out. So while my mom was talking to this woman, my dad went around the corner in the basement. He went to go look at something in the Union Brewery. And this is the old building from the 1860s that used to brew up beer in the 1800s in Virginia City. So it's pretty old, you guys. It's over 100 years old, which is pretty crazy. But Apparently, according to my mom, while she was talking to this woman, my dad came running back around the corner about a couple minutes later. His face was completely like drained of his blood, and he was so pale, it was terrifying. And my mom looked at him and said, "What's wrong?" And he grabbed my mom's hand while she was pregnant with me, and he's like, "We need to go now." And they left the building, and they never came back to the Union Brewery, you guys. That was it. They never came back. They never set foot back in there. And actually, that place has a really violent history, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure there's been a lot of deaths in there. And also, just recently, I'm not going to name any names out of respect for the family, but the owner that was working there recently just died. I'm not even kidding. Just a few months ago, this man died inside the Union Brewery. They found him on the floor. And also, I'm sorry, I'm just having a hard time getting this story out because it's just, every time I talk about this, I feel really weird. It makes me really uncomfortable. I just don't like that building, you guys. But anyways, I'm just going to continue on with it. So, after the events of the Union Brewery, unfortunately, my dad had passed away in 2004, and that devastated me and the family, obviously, so it was a really rough time. And I remember when this was right before I took off to California to go live with my dad's side of the family for a few months. I was staying out at my house when my mom was still there, and she went to bed, and I remember I was in bed in my bunk bed, and I remember sitting in bed as a 5-year-old, and I woke up, and I remember looking in the corner of my room. I saw this tall black figure, and every time I would close my eyes, this tall black figure would come closer and closer to my bed, and it just terrified me. I remember being so scared. I felt paralyzed in bed, and I did not want to get up. I couldn't explain it. I couldn't cry for help. I don't even know why I was too scared to cry for help. I just didn't. And every time I just shut my eyes, this thing was closer, and it kept coming closer and closer to my bed. So I started getting more and more scared. So I would go under the covers, and then I would look up, and then I would go under again, you know. And I thought, I don't know, I thought if I just ignored it, it would go away. So I tried to ignore it, and then like, I remember rolling back over a couple hours later, and it was right in my face. I didn't see nothing, I just saw black. I felt darkness, and I felt this thing come up and grab my arm just like this, and I felt a pull, and that's when I screamed. I screamed, and I cried, and I remember this when I was a kid. I don't know if anybody else remembers this, but my mom came in and she comforted me. She thought it had something to do with my dad, I'm assuming. I don't know. As the years passed and progressed, I obviously grew up, and I started going to Virginia City more, and this was after I moved back from California. A few years later, I think I was 8 years old at this point, so I was about 5 the last time I saw this thing, and then when I was 8 years old and I moved back to Nevada, I saw it again, and it terrified me that time, but at the same time I felt very protected because I think when things come around me like that, my father is around, and he's a very protective spirit. He does not put up with dark entities pushing me around, and I love him for that because he still looks out for me. So I love you, Dad. I remember waking up in my room, and I hadn't seen this thing in a while, and obviously I remembered this thing when I was 5 because it grabbed my arm. It was a tall, skinny, black figure in my room. It literally looked like something out of my nightmares, you guys. It was fucking terrifying. And it showed up again when I was 8, and it was in the corner of my room again, and I remember telling it to go away because I sat there for a few minutes staring at it and I knew what it was again, and literally when I saw it, my heart dropped to my stomach. I felt sick. I didn't want to be around it. I didn't like it, and it didn't like me. And I felt very attacked, and I felt very preyed upon when this entity was ever around, and I still don't like it. And obviously it doesn't come around to me anymore because I know how to protect myself from things like that now. So if it ever comes around, that thing's got another thing coming, and my flamingo just fell down. See what happens, you guys? Anyways, my flamingo's back up now, but I remember seeing that thing, and I remember telling it to go away, and I went to sleep, and then it was gone the next morning. And over the years, I had a few more encounters with this thing, and here's the weird thing. So this is where the Union Brewery ties in with this entity, because this just freaks me out. And I think I was like 14, 15, around there. I was walking with my mom in Virginia City, and I remember we were passing by the Union Brewery when I was 15. She tells me this every time we go past it. She looks at the building and she's like, I don't like that building. And I always look at my mom and I go, why don't you like that building? And she's like, because whatever's in there is genuinely evil and it does not like me or us. And so that just like sent shivers up the back of my spine when I was looking at the windows, and it gave me that familiar feeling that same entity gave me when I was 5 and when I was 8, or whenever it decided to show up, you know. And so I started asking my mom questions about it, and she started to tell me that I followed her around for a little bit, and then it stopped because my mom obviously knows how to protect herself from that sort of thing. And so I kind of made the connection in my mind. It was a weird connection, and I strongly believe that this is the same spirit that came from the Union Brewery, that sat at the foot of my bed and sat in the corner of my room and stared me down and preyed on me, because every time I walk past there, I feel like it's waiting for me to go back into the Union Brewery, you guys. It's literally terrifying. So sorry, it freaks me out every time I think about it. Well, after I made that connection in my mind, I did a cleansing, and I'll explain what cleansing is in another video, in my witchy videos probably. I cleansed myself with Paleo Santo wood and some natural herbs, and I made sure that any negative forces that were to come around me stayed away, because I don't put up with evil entities, I don't put up with dark spirits, I don't do it. And I honestly think if you're being terrified personally by a dark spirit, you need to get rid of it immediately, because it's not worth having something so negative and evil around. So I guess that more or less kind of wraps it up, but the reason what brought this story on is because just a few days ago, or a week ago I think, no, it was last Saturday, I walked past the Union Brewery with my friend Randy, and I remember talking to him about it, and I was like, oh look, it's the Union Brewery. And then I just sat there and I stared at it, and I looked at the 2 windows on the top floor, and I remember feeling the same feeling that I felt when I was 5 years old. The darkness, and the fact that it wanted to hurt me, and it wanted to do bad things. So what I did was I stuck my head up, and I turned around, and I walked away. I did the bigger thing. I will never ever go into the Union Brewery. I will not ghost investigate into there. I won't do anything having to do with that building. I've decided to leave it, and I've decided to not involve myself. If anybody wants me to involve myself with that building, then good luck. Now, this isn't me slandering the business itself, because I'm pretty sure it's an operating business, but it's cool. Like, I have nothing against the people that work there or anything like that. I just personally don't want anything to do with it. And like I said just a couple of months ago, I find it really creepy that the owner of the Union Brewery, the current one, just died. And they found him dead on the floor in the Union Brewery. So he probably haunts that building as well. And it makes me wonder if he was being terrorized by the same dark entities. Yeah, so that was my first paranormal story time. Just hope you guys enjoyed this week's video. I know it's not what you guys are typically used to, but I do have some fun videos coming out, and I will have more paranormal talks. I'm also collaborating with some people in Virginia City. I'm just really excited, and I'm glad you guys like this channel, and so far it's received so much positive feedback. I wanted to thank everybody for supporting me and giving me positive feedback on my channel. I sincerely, really appreciate it. I love you guys. You guys are the best Dusasauruses in the whole world. Well, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, you're the only Dusasauruses in the whole world. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you're new to my channel. And I have some fun videos coming your guys' way. And like always, I will see you guys next Friday.